Kenny wants to say, okay, Kenny, you want to explain what you want to explain. You explain what you want to explain. So Kenny wants to explain about the colorism. Go for it. Go for it.
All right. So, Kojo, I appreciate you because I know you're really trying to move away from Vincent and Brittany. I said Brittany. See, Vinny doesn't even have his own name anymore. He's now Brittany. You see this? Little by little, this is how your identity just goes from Vinny to Brittany. All right. No, but on a serious note, I just wanted to just talk about Brianna's whole. Let's just tie a couple of dots, okay?
Yeah.
So when it first came up, she said, like in the start of the whole show, she said she was so grateful she got the man that she wanted. She wanted a tan man. And the whole internet wasn't sure what the heck that meant because this is a dark-skinned woman. What's she talking about tan? Like, we don't understand. Some people said, is she colorist? Is she not? But it was a question mark always behind the word colorist because we were not sure. Fast forward to last night's episode, she says, oh, she used to have issues with her dark skin tone. And now she has resolved those issues. And when she has kids, she's going to tell them that they are beautiful, blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at this screen like the cognitive dissonance. I'm like, woman, you ask for a light-skinned man and you think you've resolved your colorism issues? No, you've asked for a light-skinned man because you still don't see your darkness as beautiful and you want your kids to have a shot at being lighter than you are. Call a spade a spade. So I don't know, I wish we had like a horn or some kind of a sound we could play. I am calling Brianna colorist. I'm calling it because all her whole thing about I've evolved from it. I have become better. You would not be looking for a specific shade of man. You are just as bad as Clara. You would not be looking for a specific shade of man. If you had truly resolved your issues, you'd be looking at the content of the character. That's why it doesn't matter what Vincent does or what he doesn't do. She will twist that man into a pretzel because he's light bright and can give her what she needs. Validation is a darker person who doesn't like her darkness, and light bright kids potentially. I'm calling it colorist.
Wow.
First woman we've called it colorist.
Wow. I'm shaking. Guys, does anybody want to add to that? Because no, it's a conversation that needs to be had. So does anybody want to add to that? Yes, who's opening the mic? Is that Layla first?
I think I said that. Ooh, go.
Layla and Lola. Go
ahead.
Wow. I don't remember her saying that, but if I had heard her say that, 100%. There's no, you don't say that you want a light-skinned man, especially as a darker skinned person. Like, listen, everyone talks about preference. Everyone talks about whatever it is. You know, when Bree said that she had overcome those issues at like 15 or 16, I was like, wow, that's very young. You know, just to be completely plain, I know you've had a colorism panel on here before, Kojo. Like, 15, 16 is like when it is the hardest.
Yeah.
Like that is when all these girls are out here getting chose and the dudes are the most reckless. And it is like rough in these streets in America, and she's in the South. And so I'm like, wow, she got over that really quickly. But for her to have a preference in skin tone for a man, no, she's 100% colorist. And it's not something that I think she weaponizes against other people. It's 100% internalized. It's 100% self-loathing. Yeah. And I understand that. Like, listen, I have been there. And those walks down that road where you're trying to save your children, so-called, from some type of experience that you had when you were younger, it can lead you down some really dark paths. And you can make some compromises that your rational self is not comfortable with. And one of those might be Vinny's approach to sort of finances or self-motivation. That might be the compromise that she's grappling with right now. But I mean, and if that's the only compromise she has to make, then honestly, she's coming out really lucky because it could have been way worse. But yeah, no, ring the colorism bell, sound the colorism alarm. Bree needs to get some therapy. She needs to get some self-love. She needs to get honest with herself about what she really truly thinks. And there is no guarantee on how those kids will look or what their hair will look like or what their features will look like. So she should probably do it before she gets pregnant because she doesn't want to project that onto her kids.
Lola, go for it. This is good stuff. This
I
Whoa.
want to say I didn't hear that part of what she said, but based on what she said with the last episode about those issues, I didn't believe her because I remember when she was walking up the aisle, there was something in me that's there's a certain way. So I'm familiar. I have this conversation a lot with my family members. Like I told you all at the panel at the back in our little chat, how many siblings I have, and we're all different shades. So I recognize certain things. And looking at her, I feel like she almost was, happy almost way before she saw his features. One, two, when she brought it up, that for me kind of sealed the deal. It kind of, and this is, I mean, I don't want to judge and call her a colorist because this is based on her experiences. She's not over what she's going through yet. In her mind, the abuse, the words, maybe the painful things that have been thrown at her are what she's leading with. And so you will see. And the worst thing is, we are the worst offenders against each other. We have these lovely terms, colorist, featurism, all these things. But the truth is, when you call a spade, you will see people make us, not people, us, making reference to people based on their shade. And sometimes we say things that, and their features too. And we say hurtful things, but we don't think about it. And this is what's been affecting her. So she's coming from a place of pain. So I don't want to say when people say I've been through something, it's a lie, but just based on the way she presents herself. The package she's showing is this overly confident package. And I feel that's her compensating for some of the things she experienced as a child. So it makes sense. Now, can she get over it? Most definitely she can. But it's if she's in a position to see that she still needs help with herself. But I see it. Will she have any problem with her children? I don't think it will affect her children, so to say. Now, if they come up in different shades, that might help her deal with what she hasn't dealt with for herself. Because when you love a child, the issues you haven't dealt with, you'll be forced to deal with. So whatever those issues are, I don't think they will affect her if she has children who end up picking up her shade. It will actually motivate her to deal with her own conflict with her shade. So either way, it might actually, but the issue now is if she has, maybe more than one kid, I don't know if she even wants to have one, but if she has more than one kid, the issue now will how she will, take people making reference to children who might be different shades. She herself, I don't think she'll have an issue, but the pain will be reflected in how society looks at her children. Because the truth is, we still do it right now. You line people up. There's certain things people are looking at, and we're going to judge each other. It's not the people it's not, our vanilla brothers and sisters that are looking at the different shades and saying, it's us. We're the ones doing it. We're the perpetrators. And so it's going to continue because we do have these beautiful conversations about, we should get therapy. We should do all this, but we are still the offenders. We're still making some careless statements. I'm come from Nigeria. And I went to one of my sisters, there's about 1.5 years between us. So she's maybe slightly darker than I am. And they used to call us Ebony and Ivory and have all these kind of sidebar things they would say. And these are issues she still might have against me today. So, it's still going on. And so I think what we need to do, as opposed to just calling it out in other people, is calling it out in ourselves, with our family members, as we see it in the community, because it's not going to change. We're just going to keep talking about it. We're going to keep observing it, but we're not going to, if we don't say, I do this, because we can only change what we do. We're just going to keep, this is going to be a conversation we're going to have till kingdom come. It really is. And so I think the point here is we need to ask ourselves, me, Lola, what do I do when I see someone that looks like this? What do I think when I see someone what are the things I'm saying? What is the narrative I'm pushing? Because that's what's going to change everything. Because the truth is, the beauty of us is that we come in different shades, but we've now been convinced from, years past of slavery that the darker shades might not be the superior shades, whereas the beauty in us is the different shades. But we still have, particularly those of us who might be immigrants coming from African countries who are probably one parent in, we still have that colonial type of thinking. And funny enough, coming here, actually moving to the States, when I did, I noticed it too. I thought it was just because, come on, how many Africans do we know about people bleaching? Bleaching is superior. Males, when you look at the music videos, now you might see some, enlightened people have, an array of females. But if you look at the old music videos, even from a lot of these rappers, they've got, the light-skinned lady with the nice wavy hair and all this thing is not to say that she's bad, but that's what's going on with them. And so we have to take responsibility for what's going on. I want to take all night because I know this is a whole issue in itself, but I look at her and I pity her, which is what made me understand why she has this. I feel it's a false sense of, confidence. That's what I kind of read into it. But I don't want to make this a whole conversation for the whole night because there are other people to talk about. But yeah, that's all I take from that.
So can I just chime in for a little bit? Vincent ethnicity is Hispanic black, right? He's just a lighter skinned black man.
Dominican, yeah.
Right. If a man or woman dates a Caucasian man, a black person dates a Caucasian person, what's that?
You said say that
because
again?
I'm just, if a Caucasian person dates a black person, what do you call that?
What do you call the couple or the baby they have?
Like a black person, they prefer Caucasian male or female.
Interracial.
Isn't that colorism?
Oh, you mean the preference? Oh.
Yeah, the preference. Isn't that colorism?
A preference, maybe white supremacy.
Not
no,
necessarily.
I'm just like let's say for example, if Lola starts dating Jacob, and she says she only likes Jacob, she don't want to be for a dark skinned man. So isn't that colorism? But the thing I'm saying, Vincent, his ethnicity is black, but he's just a light skinned black man. So that's what I'm trying to figure out where the comparison would be the colorism.
We're talking about colorism. We're talking about the shade. If there is someone who is actually expressing a preference for lighter.
Kenny says that's colorism. Like she's calling it out like that's colorism.
You mean white and black?
No, she said Vincent and Brianna. It's colorism.
Yes.
So I'm asking if a black person dates a Caucasian white or white man or white woman, what like if they prefer a Caucasian person, like they don't prefer to be for a black man. What do you call that then?
What do we call? I don't know. What do we call it?
That's what I'm trying to understand.
I think
it's not colorism,
difference between like her dating Vincent in itself is not colorism. You dating a white person or marrying a white person in itself, like the act itself, is not racism or colorism or none of that. What makes it colorism is the motive behind it.
Yeah.
So if you are, dating or marrying this person because you have some type of hatred towards people of the other kind, then you become racist, then you become colorist, So I think, I agree. I think that Brianna is colorist because I do remember her talking about him being tan, and we now get a lens into her childhood. And I think that she went through a lot of hurt in her childhood from bullying and stuff like that. She had it hard. I could just tell by the way she was like telling her story or whatever. And I think that because it was so hard on her growing up, like that's part of the reason why she doesn't want to have kids, right? Because she probably doesn't want her kids to like have to go through that or whatever. But she's probably thinking if she is going to have kids, she probably wants her kids to be a little bit lighter because she knows that life is going to be easier for her. And the truth of the matter is life is easier when you're lighter. Like you get better opportunities, you get, treated better. People think that you're an actual human being when you have lighter skin. And, people deem you as beautiful, so it's just, there's a whole lot there. And when you're coming from a place of like self-hate, of like having to grow from that type of healing, it's hard to shake that, I feel.
All right, well, I just wanted to know because I think that colorism thing is just a very sensitive topic, but I was just trying to figure it out a little more, but I understand what you're saying.
Can I jump in for like 2 seconds?
Okay.
So I'm kind of grappling with that whole idea of her being a colorist too. I'm trying to figure it out. Although I will say when she said at 15 I got over it, I do remember thinking, how? Like you went to college, it gets difficult when you start hitting puberty all the way through college because that's really where like you're starting to find your identity. And because you haven't matured enough for your identity to be based on like things that are actually of value, your identity is based off of like things that are just shallow, which is your looks, your color, how many guys talk to you, how many guys actually talk to you and not just want to have sex with you, but talk to you and really want a relationship with you. And so all that stuff kind of goes all the way through probably, I would say, college years. And then it gets to a point, maybe junior year, you start figuring out like this is BS. And then you start growing out of it. So when she said 15, to me, that did catch my attention. Now to put the whole word of colorist, like a colorist on her, I'm not quite sure about that. I don't remember her saying 10. I will go and review. But I think yeah, I might have to kind of look at it a little bit just to see. But yeah, I thought it was really odd for you to just be over it at 15 when it was just starting and it drags on for years. So that's just my take on that.
So let me just jump in. So I don't think that she was over it. At 15, a lot of times it's easier to say you're over something than to deal with it. And especially if you don't know how to deal with it. Because who wants to walk around and just say I'm broken and I'm hurt? So let's just take away the colorist thought. Okay, so for example, it could be like in a feature that you may have. For example, my family has huge gaps. Now, again, anybody in the comments before y'all tear me up, I wasn't comfortable with my gap. It was a family trait. But I didn't feel comfortable because I was teased. I was dogged as a kid. Like, okay, like your teeth are not, straight. Why is this, you're missing a tooth. It was bad. So growing up, like nobody addressed it. Like my family just like, well, we just rocking with these gaps. But as soon as I got older, I closed it up. So you don't know what that does to a child. So in my early 20s, when I dated people, I met a guy, he was a nice guy. But his gap was bigger than mine. So I was like, we're going to have kids with huge gaps. Again, do not jump in the comments and tear me up. But that was my thought process when I was 20 because no one addressed like the hurt that I went through as a child. Nobody, and my nephew, I promise you, he was like, Auntie, why are you missing a whole tooth? Nephew, I'm not missing a tooth. So you never know what things carry over into your adulthood until you address it or if somebody knows how to address it. So when Bree's that little child, you don't know, and what they always say to dark-skinned girls, so I've heard this, people say this to my little cousin, oh, you're pretty to be a dark-skinned girl. Well, what, like dark-skinned people are ugly? Like, I'm confused. The girl is gorgeous. She could be a model. But every time they see her, oh, you're cute for a dark-skinned girl. So again, if it's not addressed, I think we're thinking too much. I think she's just still hurt. And then when, anybody picks with any of your features, it's hurting. And as a child, who do you're going in the room and you're looking at 15, you're looking in the mirror like, wow, am I beautiful? Who, looks like me? And, we can just be in denial, but I think it's just a place of hurt. And maybe if she did say the comment about Vincent being white, maybe she was hoping that maybe she could get some brown skin babies. But, sis, sometimes it don't work out that way. They get all your traits. So, I mean, let's just give her a break. She's hurt and she just needs to come to that, realization that, I need to deal with these issues. But we've all probably had some issues with our features or things going on. So let's just be honest.
Cool. Like it. Okay, cool. No worries at all.
Well, can I just say, I just feel like for me, anybody in this earth preference, whether you black and you like lighter skinned black people, or whether you are dark and you like darker skinned black people, I just don't feel it's for me, in my opinion, it's your preference, what you want. Because the same way I was teased as a child, I was teased a lot as a child because I was really dark. But then when I got to high school, the girls used to say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. You understand? So it got to a point where I started feeling more comfortable with being really dark. Because I used to get teased so much that it used to get to a point where it used to hurt. And then that for me is what you like. I could date a darker skinned woman darker than me. I could date a lighter skinned woman lighter than me. So then it's what you prefer. That's how I see it. I don't really feel like it comes off as being colorism because she asked for a lighter skinned man. But it is what it is. But I just feel like it's just your preference. Is what you want. Is what you like. Is you go for what you like. You love who you love. That's how I see it.
I hear you. I mean, obviously, like I said, this conversation is a needed conversation because we have had those the word colorist come up for both Chris and for Brie as well. So it is a deep conversation. I think obviously it's not always easy to tell, but you know, there's been some points that I've made up. Again, I'm sitting on the fence. I'm not 100% made up yet for Brie, but I also respect the fact that this conversation came up the same way I respect it with Chris, because this is also a part of the equation. And I know a lot of people may feel like let's move on. What you don't understand is this is a very heavy topic, and it does affect our community. For a lot of people, you might not have felt the sway of it, so maybe you won't understand how heavy it can be. Even as a man myself, yeah, I got teased as a kid, but let me tell you something. When you got older, we got glorified. So my differences from the women to the men are completely different, because I can sit on Twitter right now and I'll show you tweets where they're still dragging black women for being monkeys, ugly, this, that. So the difference between men and women is completely different. When we get older to 15, 16, we are the black men. When it comes to black women, they're not the same. Trust me, I'm telling you, bro. In UK alone, I see it. So I can understand that the scope of the field is completely different. So I do understand that, and I want to take that into consideration. But again, I'm sitting on the fence at the moment. I'm not 100% sure for Brie, but I take everybody's point as well. And I think it was a very good, needed discussion as well. So if you're tuning in and you're watching it back or whatever, don't be offended by this. It's a very good conversation to have. If you're offended by it, it means probably you need to go and do some research and learn about it.